I have a friend in Israel who told me yesterday he's together, thankfully, with his family right now. He told me everyone there in the city is pale white to the face like they've seen a ghost. But here's what's really going on in the most simplest way for everyone to understand. It will sound very basic and straightforward, so bear with me. Iran got a hold of a nuclear bomb from the United States recently. And both Iran and Palestine have tension with Saudi Arabia and Israel, and you'll see why here in a minute. Saudi Arabia, the leader of the Arab world, was left in a panic and fear after finding out that Iran now had access to a nuclear bomb, as the Saudis themselves don't have one, leaving them feeling open and defenseless. So they came to the US themselves and asked if they can get a bomb of their own. The US makes big money for bombs. It's a quiet industry. But nukes, guns, and I'd even say fear are great commodities here in the United States. So the US said, yeah, sure, but under only two conditions. One, never to use it on Israel. And two, give us cheaper oil for life. The Saudis have no real problem with Israel to begin with, and Saudis can work with OPEC to make that happen. And so they agreed and said, sure, when do we sign? The tension in the Middle East is definitely starting to seem it's because of oil. After all, oil makes everything around us, not just the gas in your car, but also used in the making of the streets and roads, the tires of your car, many plastics and beyond. And we use these things every day. And if everyone, well, mostly the US, goes only to Saudi Arabia for cheap oil, that leaves Palestine, Iran, and I want to say even China left out in deep water. Which means their countries and their people will be left suffering and poor. At the root, I want to say it's just compassion for their own people and country. But it's hard to tell, as this world is really just a business now. So you can see what the real issue is here. It's not a religious extremist issue, nor is it just an act of terrorism, although it is disguised very well in the mainstream. And on the day or two leading up to the signing of this deal, over 1,000 people, men, women, and children, died in my friend's country from the attacks of what they call Hamas. But what is Hamas anyway, other than what you've heard about it in the mainstream? You won't ever find out directly, but from what I've gathered, they're mostly Palestinians and possibly Iranians. The Palestinian government and the corporations of Palestine and Iran, of course, don't like the signing between the US and Saudi Arabia. But were never planning on going to a physical war about it. Their approach was more peaceful and more of a paperwork legislation type of fight. But Hamas is the full-on physical, violent version of that same disagreement. And out of fear and anger, they made their way to Israel on early morning of Saturday, October 6th, right before the deal was signed, and people who had nothing to do with this deal died. No one knows how they got in through Israeli borders so easily. This is the great mystery of the whole thing. No one really knows. And as to who's funding Hamas, that too is unknown. So you can clearly see here, this isn't religious, or at least entirely religious, if at all. And it's not because Saudi Arabia has a bomb now, but it's because the cheaper prices made in the agreement of attaining that bomb. But I don't think it's just Palestine and Iran that has a problem with this agreement. China also has their investments and conduct a lot of business with both Iran and Palestine, especially Iran. But China is a quiet one. China covets the materialistic side of resources for the world, electronics, toys, and everything else mass-produced and consumeristic. China has become the masters of being a copy machine, making billions of products for consumers to consume all around the world, quickly and very cheaply. Products also made with oil. So you can see the dynamic here. Is Hamas really a coalition of just Palestinians and Iranians? Could it possibly be quietly fueled by China? In a more direct way, is China paying off certain people and possibly arming them? And why didn't anyone stop Hamas at the borders? Was the Israeli military who was just slow, lazy, or caught off guard in their response? Most importantly, and for the rest of the world, you're probably wondering what you can do about it. And please, wait till the end and bear with me here. In a perfect world, anyway, the best solution would be to let go of money altogether. As a world society, as this monetary political system only breeds events like this. So the solution would be to come together and propose a new system without money in politics. And realize the world's resources and our own intelligence as a common heritage. And leave the main decision-making instead mostly up to science and the natural laws of nature, as humans tend to have too much opinion about everything. And work together with nature and science to use technology by automating mostly everything mundane to create housing, aid in food supply, etc. Think and research a resource-based economy, possibly getting China's and the United States' production technology and resources, and instead of using them to make phony electronics and phony deals in an endless loop of planned obsolescence and war, building the foundation for new cities, supplying everyone with the necessities of life without the need to charge anyone at all whatsoever, and make everything truly abundant the way it is and free. But who's gonna do that? Of course, do you really think anyone's going to agree with me on that? That won't happen so easily, and is a very far-out dream for a lot of people. So much still have faith in currency itself. It's hard to see anything beyond that, so hardly anyone is going to agree. But if you do, I'm curious myself, and I'd be interested in seeing it in the comments. Type hashtag free world. Hashtag stands for operation. If you do. And no one's going to stop pumping gas or stop going to work and protest, especially the Americans. We all have families to feed ourselves. So, what can we really do? Well, in this system, not much. Sure, you can donate to help and aid Israel in relief, and that's nice and kind and would definitely help them in this situation in the immediate moment, definitely. But this issue will arise again at some point, as it has over and over again for hundreds of years, and will continue to do so as this monetary, consumeristic political system is, whether on purpose or not, built that way. And the political system itself is only there to keep things the same. Yes, it is very outdated and very old. And you can see now why it just doesn't work. So for now, all we can do is educate ourselves. Learn and let yourself ask deep questions. Change your values and become aware of solutions instead of fighting or complaining about the issues. Because the solutions are out there, I promise you. People are just now beginning to scratch the surface. Educate yourself, and if I can recommend a list of documentaries to watch, I will list them at the very end of this video. The next few things you can do will sound random, but they will make sense to you soon. Don't overconsume. Don't overeat. And if you've been thinking about quitting anything, be it alcohol, cigarettes, weed, or drugs, this is your sign to do it. Just do it. Get healthy. Get smarter. Love your family. Self-educate. Inspire others. Think positive. Meditate. Do yoga. Create art. Make love, and lots of it. Gather in community. Be there for your kids. Love them deeply, and don't fight anymore. Worry not and walk away from fighting in general, because fighting the system changes nothing. But building something new does. Buckminster Fuller said it best, and I will forever repeat his words. You cannot change things by fighting the existing system. To change things, we must build a new model that makes the old one look obsolete. I hurt with you, Israel. You had nothing to do with this. And at this point, all I can do is grieve with you. And I feel for you. I am sorry, brother. You are my friend, and I am here with you in some way. And so I stand with the entire world as one common heritage, because all we've ever had is each other.